All right.
Okay. Here we go.
Hey,
So
what are you doing sitting there? How come you're not sitting on your normal
On the
floor?
end. Yeah, it was a little.
I look sadder when I'm over here and get around here and you're with the wrong angle.
No,
Really?
you can't change it up now.
Yeah, because I was kind of
You
feeling a
gotta
little.
lose weight if you want to look skinnier because you can't change up the.
Yeah, it was the dynamic. You don't want to
Yeah.
mess with
Okay,
all
I'm sorry I interrupted. He was about to start the show. Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
I asked. And go.
action.
All right, we're back for episode 29,
29.
29. And as always, we have Gunny Matheson,
Grow the show.
Joe Schmidt, and after much ado, we have Todd Sommers. We've tried for
Much ado, 28 episodes before we got to Todd. We've tried for
I see
20
how I rank.
We've tried to get you for a month now.
For sure.
We've tried to call Todd for at least 25 episodes.
He's hard.
I'm a busy guy.
At least a month.
Yeah.
Right? At least
For
a-
sure. For sure.
So,
Maybe I
yeah.
stretched.
Glad to have you, though, Todd.
Thanks.
And I don't know if that was the right place to use much ado.
Yeah, but let's move on.
Yes. I don't feel like that was right after I said it.
Yeah.
But
The
Gunny
keyboard,
last time,
the keyboard pirates.
Well, because he gives you hell
Okay.
for saying special guest all the
special
time.
guest.
Yeah, special guest.
If any time that would fit, it'd be today.
Be now. Yes.
But no, we're thrilled to have Todd. And
And I don't have a shot collar on.
no, we were going to put a shock collar on Gunny, but Joe forgot the shock collar.
Yeah.
I think it's great.
So it was even Todd's idea too to bring a shock collar. And
Give me the button.
yeah.
You know how I can be. Well, listen, when Sam was here, he just smacked me in the face when he didn't like what I said. So you have my permission
To smack you?
to go ahead and elbow me or smack me if you need to.
But all kidding aside, we're all good friends with Todd. Todd's a good guy that we've all known forever, and we are very happy to have him on the show. And so, Todd, you're a two-time fraternity champion, a derby champion, $1.4 million, and this isn't even where you started, right? You started in the pleasure horse business.
Well, I started as a kid riding reiners and pleasure horses. And then my plan was to work a couple years for a pleasure horse trainer and then go work. I was actually going to go work for Bill Horn. And I got so involved in the pleasure that I wasn't able to do the reining until I went back out on my own.
And where did you grow up?
In Indiana, Brownsburg, Indiana.
Okay, so you were doing both. You had an interest in both, but when I got to know you, we were both a lot younger then. But you were just transitioning into the reining. But you were a top end pleasure guy. I mean, you were in that elite group, right? Of 2 or 3 guys. Were you ever like the high money earning pleasure horse?
Several years, yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'm still in the top 20 or 30 lifetime earners in the pleasure.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I knew,
And how long has it been since you quit doing that?
20 years.
Yeah. So top 20, 30, and you quit 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Was it hard to step? Well, I'm getting ahead of ourselves because usually we start with
Like a
you know,
timeline.
with a timeline. But as long as we're right here, was it hard to be that successful at one thing and then because you kind of quit cold turkey, other than maybe some catch rides and stuff, right?
Some paint world catch rides.
Yeah, I did the paints and the apps, catch rides for 6, 7, 8 years. But, I just got to the point where the pleasure was going. I didn't like the way it was going. That the judges couldn't make up their minds what they really wanted. And I decided that it was much easier to sweat all day long riding reiners. And I know that if I have the best ride, I'm going to do really good. And if I have a bad ride, I'm going to go, not win nothing. And the pleasure, you could have the best ride and go out the gate, and you could have the worst ride and win. It's just what this judges flipping a quarter, whether they liked it or not.
Right.
And that didn't make sense to me.
Right. And the thing is about the reining is, if you have a bad run, you usually know it.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I mean, when it's not going right, you got a pretty good idea,
Yeah.
and vice versa. If you're having a good run, you know.
Yeah, and even if things, what some judges see a little bit different or whatever, if you have the best run, well, you're at least going to be in the top three. I mean, at the worst,
Yeah.
you might be second, the other guy's first. One judge sees him a half a point higher or whatever, but you're gonna win a lot of money if you do good.
Well, I constantly see myself having the best ride. I don't want to get praised. I am very, very high on myself.
And that is true. I mean, whenever I talk to Gunny, he is very high on himself. There's no
like
doubt about
I
that.
like it. Yeah.
Overmarks himself a little bit.
Yeah,
Hey, but
even
you
in
know
practice.
what? You gotta love what you're doing, otherwise they're not gonna. Right? Sold it to myself.
Yeah, well, you know what? I always thought that took. You're far from the only guy that ever made that transition, but unless I'm missing somebody, by far the most successful.
I've been fortunate.
In two things, there's been a lot of guys that went from the pleasure and stepped in and tried the reining and had some success on some level, but which we know the reining is, to me, of any discipline you can do. And I'm going to catch some shit over this, I'm sure, but training a reining horse is the hardest thing to train a horse to do of pretty much anything you could train one to do, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's so many things, little intricate things involved that can go wrong, and it's definitely
There's
difficult.
more pieces to reining than there is a lot
Yeah.
of other horses. So
Yeah.
I mean, there's more. There's more. So yeah, it's pretty hard.
So when you were still riding the pleasure horses, towards the end of your pleasure horse career, were the horses at that point still loping pretty natural and doing a lot
Yeah,
of
they were just starting to do what I call circus horse stuff, where they're loping sideways and bobbing their heads up and down, and some judges were picking the natural movers and the horses that didn't move their heads, and then some judges were picking the other ones, and they couldn't make up their minds what they wanted, and that's when I got out.
yeah.
I
And
mean, back then, a lot of the horses, that was the beginning for them. That was their first step in the show pen, was the pleasure. And then they went on and did the reining and
Right.
did things. I mean, there was a horse that won the pleasure fraternity that went on to be second or third in the reining fraternity.
rope and shoot.
Yeah, and what was the Yellow Mare of Carol Rose's? Cleve Wells showed her in the pleasure fraternities and did very well on her.
What was her name?
Was it-
Sparkle Susanna?
No, Susanna was a sorrow, I think. Or no, Rosanna was a sorrow. It might have been
Yeah, I
Susanna.
think it was Susanna.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
But now, with all the squeeze buttons and all the stuff they put on them, you can't go on and teach them to be a reiner.
Right. And and I don't want to take anything away from
No.
what those guys are doing.
Because
now,
they work very hard at it.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
You still got to be
Yeah.
super talented.
For sure.
If
teach a
that's-
horse
If
that.
that's the game you have to play to do
Right.
that and be competitive.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of work to teach one to do that.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's not what I wanted to do.
Right.
I mean, I wanted more of the natural horses, and I always loved reiners. I mean, I showed cutters as a kid and did the high school rodeo and all that stuff, but I always loved reiners. And like I said, I planned on working a couple years for a pleasure horse trainer and then going a couple years for a reining horse trainer and doing both.
Yeah, but it's not like you quit riding pleasure horses and then just rode reiners. I mean, you were successful at riding pleasure horses and reining horses at the same time, weren't you?
Right. For the first year I went out on my own, I won. I was second at the Congress in the pleasure fraternity, and I won the limited open at the fraternity in the reining.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, you were second.
So, who is this freaking pleasure horse guy?
And what year was that?
89.
89.
Yeah.
And the next year you won the open fraternity?
No, in 91.
91.
Yeah,
How did you
He's
do
done
in the
his time,
pleasure
right?
in 1991?
I did good. I mean, I was kind of at the top of the deal in the pleasure back then.
Well, that's what I mean. I mean, you were competitive at both disciplines.
And then about, 95, 96, I started just doing a lot more reiners. And then by I don't know, 98, 99, I quit doing the pleasure horses.
So I got another story that is still off of our timeline, but we're here. So I was I was leasing stalls at Larry Sullivan's old place, and you were
Gainesville.
In Gainesville,
in
right?
Gainesville, and you were working. Were you working for Jim or
No,
leasing
I just
stalls?
leased a barn.
Okay, so you leased a barn there, and you lived in a trailer house there
Mm-hmm.
in Jim's place.
Jim who?
Jim
Babcock,
Babcock. Okay.
which was right across the street from Larry Sullivan's.
Yeah. it's right
I was
across the
there
street.
for maybe a year and a half or so
Yeah.
before I bought my place.
You probably don't remember this, but so I drive over there. Todd says, "Well, let's come over, watch TV or whatever." So I go over there, and we hung out some back in the day when we were we always in those days. Todd and I'd always see each other at the dry cleaner. Because we got everything dry cleaned. Our underwear, our socks, right? Everything.
We didn't have nobody else to do it.
Those 4 dry cleaners.
Yeah.
I'm gonna see y'all's underwear. What have you been rubbing in this underwear? What? We ride horses. Well, could you get a different color underwear?
I tell you, you want to go easy on the starch in the underwear.
Underwear, yeah.
You can get away with starch salt. Let's not even go
So anyway,
that went a completely different way.
yeah.
Oh,
So back to that
Anyway.
Y'all
story.
hung out.
Yeah, you hung out.
Y'all would see each other at the dry cleaners.
I used to go over to Tom's and we do the pay-per-view boxing and
I'm still composing myself. So, not being very professional. So I went over to your house, to the trailer house there, and you had, in the boxes, you had 2 new saddles. And I was like, and then I had and not much different than today, I have 1 show saddle, 1 favorite show saddle. If I get 3 in the finals, I just trade it off,
Right.
It doesn't get as much use as it used to.
Yeah.
It got
You
a
don't have to
lot of
worry
use.
about that much, do
No,
you?
I disagree. It got a lot of use this year in every level 3 final.
Oh, that's right. That's right. And you made the prime time a couple times too. Son.
Joe goes for the jugular.
I'm not saying nothing because I was happy to make the level 3 in the prime time.
Oh,
that year.
yeah,
that's
put
right.
shot collars on me and Joe for this episode.
I'm back in the level 4, by the way.
Yeah,
That's
all
as
right.
fun I'd go. But anyway, I go and you had 2 saddles, 2 nice. I think you were riding Broken Horns
Mhm.
back then. They were beautiful saddles coming out of the box there. And I was like, man, why do you have so many show saddles? He says, and he was just starting the reining. He says, well, when I have 3 in the finals, I don't like switching saddles. I'm like, well, that is planning ahead right there. Like he's new in the reigning deal, and I'm thinking he's just planning on having 3 in the open finals. And for a long time, a lot of times
Yeah.
you did have 3 in the
A
open.
few
Yeah, for
times.
sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a few times.
So that was one of my stories of. I think,
That's funny.
but I think that plays a big part of it. Whether you're showing reining horses, playing in the Super Bowl, no matter what that confidence level.
Mhm.
I read today that Tom Brady was texting all his teammates, the week of, how they're going to win the game. They're convincing them that they're going to win.
Yeah.
And I think that's such a big,
And he convinced them.
yeah. I mean, it's such a big deal to have that confidence. And you do have that confidence.
Winning
Okay.
promotes confidence.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. And then you get old like we are now and you get beat down. Get beat down.
Yeah, you're just happy to make the finals.
By your friends.
You got your wife, yeah.
I mean, not my wife.
No,
Yeah.
no,
not yours.
She's nothing but supportive.
Yeah, all the time.
Uplifting all the time.
Yes, yeah, positive.
Yeah, I always walk around like I'm a foot taller when she's around. That's because she's so
Well, you
short.
are a foot taller than her.
Yeah, that's fair. So, anyways, now
Go back.
let's forget all that and go way back.
Sorry,
So,
we were having too much
Rewind.
fun. We totally did this out of order.
yeah, we
Yeah.
did, but we'll go.
That's
we'll,
all right though.
We'll go back. So, growing up, going through school and stuff. Your
How'd you get
parents
into
have
it?
horses? Did you grow up in the country?
My parents didn't own horses at all. My sister got a horse when I was like 8 years old, and I started going out to the boarding stables there in Brownsburg. riding her horse a little bit. Then I got a horse. And then, unfortunately, my mom and dad separated when I was like 12. So we couldn't afford the horse. My mom couldn't afford it. She went back to work. And there was a couple trainers at the barn there. And I started working for those trainers, riding horses. And they had some ponies that I helped them break. And
Because you love to do it, or
yeah,
you wanted
because
the money?
No, because I didn't think about the money back then.
Gotcha.
I mean, it was just I liked riding the horses.
Okay.
Randy Fowler was there for a little while. He kind of got me involved in the
Great
reining.
guy, Randy.
Yeah,
That's a name we haven't. I don't think
Yeah.
we've said much on the show, but one of the guys that was a big part of the industry when I was growing up.
Still is a big part
and
of the
Lon
industry, I think.
Crane. He was a trainer there at that boarding stables, and he taught me how to start breaking colts and things. And he was a big Monty Foreman deal. And Monty came there one time to do a clinic, and I went to Monty's clinic.
That's cool.
And just got involved with that, and in the summertime I'd go work for some of those guys. And then the day after high school, I graduated on Tuesday, and Wednesday I drove to Texas, went to work for trainers.
Who'd you go work for?
I went to work for Tommy Mannion. I wanted to go to work for Jody. And
Jody
Gallion.
Gallion.
Yeah. And he didn't know me, didn't know nothing about me. And I was dating a girl that worked for Bonnie Chrisman, and Bonnie Chrisman was big friends with Tommy Mannion. Well, I'd planned it out. I was going to go work for Jody, and then I was going to go work for Bill Horn. And I didn't get the job at Jody's, and she said, well, I can get you a job at Tommy's. So I went to Tommy's, and I worked there about 6 months, and Jody saw me at the shows and saw me riding and offered me a job. And I said, well, I want to finish at least a year.
So Jody stole Tommy's help.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. But I told him.
Tommy, you owe Jody a phone call.
I'm sure.
But I told Jody I wanted to finish out at least a year at Tommy's. So I gave Tommy 6 months notice, finished out the year there, and then went to work for Jody and worked for Jody for almost 5 years. And that's where I got so involved in the pleasure. At Tommy's, I rode reiners, I rode cutters. I even worked a cow one time on Smart Little Lena.
Really?
Oh, really?
But that was fun, huh?
Oh, it was bionic.
Yeah. If you're going to get on one, you might as well.
Yeah, get on the best
Where
one
you
that's
go.
ever lived. Yeah.
So did you play any sports or anything when you were a kid?
A little bit in junior high. I did football and stuff, and I was going to horse shows and stuff back then. Some people, John and Jody Robards, they kind of raised me after my dad and mom separated.
I've heard you talk about them.
And they had a place right down the road from the boarding stables. Well, then she was my 4-H teacher. She was a 4-H, coach or whatever. And I started going to horse shows with her, and I went to the rodeos and stuff with John. And they got me really involved into the show horses and kind of doing everything. But, before I was just going to open shows and just kind of doing whatever. Well, she got me involved in the horses, and she rode with Randy Fowler. So she kind of got me to where I can go work for Randy a little bit in the summertime.
So when you moved down here, what year was that when you moved down to Tommy's?
I moved here like the end of '83.
Okay. So you were here for all the stuff that I wished I was here for. You were here for the crazy 80s with the oil money and the Cubans and the
Texas Mafia.
there was a lot of shit going on then, huh?
Oh yeah, I couldn't believe it when I come down here at the big ranches and they were paying for horses more money than I ever thought a horse would bring,
And paying in cash.
yeah.
Yeah. You and I think we were talking about it one other time, where Doug Lilly and I were good friends, and the stories Doug told me from back in the day, when all of that stuff was rolling and going. It was crazy. I mean, it was
all the oil money too. And
Yeah.
it was all going and blowing back then.
Yeah, and I mean, everybody had money and thought it was never going to end.
Yep.
And was the oil money and the money from the Cubans, was that at the same time, or was the oil money first and then the...
I think oil money was first.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard stories about that because my Mike Hughes built that big place over on 35, which is now the RV,
The RV place,
McLean's
yeah.
RV Center.
Yeah. And there was Redgate over there,
Yeah.
and there was a bunch of places there on I-35.
Yeah.
Cobble Ranch.
Yeah.
Cobble Ranch,
Yeah, Cobble Ranch, and the stories that go with that. I've read, I've read books about Cobble, or a book about
Yeah.
Cobble Ranch.
Tommy Hastings worked for Rex Cobble for years, and he until he passed away, several weeks ago, he played cards with us every week, and we heard all the stories.
Really?
He had some
Unbelievable.
good stories.
Unbelievable things
About
that happened.
Rex Cobble and Benny Binion.
The best one he ever told was
No, wait a minute. Whoa. You're not going to get murdered over this, are you? I mean,
No.
They're all dead now.
They're all dead now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The best one he ever told was Cobble went to Vegas to Benny Binion's casino, and he got a $50,000 marker, and he got to drinking, and he told them, he says, "Do not give me another marker, no matter what. I don't care how drunk I get, how much I complain. Do not give me any more money." He lost the first $50,000, and he said, "Give me $50,000 more." Well, they just give him another $50,000. He got ready to leave. He lost all that too. He got ready to leave. He paid his $50,000 deal off, went home, and they said, "You owe us another $50,000." He said, "I told you, if I got drunk, I did not want you to give me any money. You gave it to me. I'm not paying it." So he goes home. Well, Tommy's working for him back then. That's when they had Cutter Bill and everything. And
I remember.
this Learjet from Benny Binion shows up at the Dallas airport. And these two guys come to Rex Cobble's office, and they say, Mr. Cobble, you owe us $50,000, and we want it collected. We're going to be here till tomorrow evening at 5 o'clock. Our plane's leaving, and we expect that money to be there. He says, "I'm not paying you. I don't care what you say. Y'all got me drunk. I'm not paying for it." So the next morning, these guys call Rex Cobble and says, "Are you going to bring us that money?" He said, "No, I'm not paying you." He said, "Well, you might ought to check on Cutter Bill." So he calls to the barn and gets Tommy and says, "Run down and check on Cutter Bill, make sure he's okay." So he runs down there and checks on Cutter Bill, and he comes back to the phone. He says, "Cutter Bill's fine." He said, "But the horse in the stall next to him is deader than a doornail. Somebody shot him."
Oh my God!
It was an old turnback gelding or something. They shot him.
Jesus!
I remember
Rex
Tom
Cobble.
Tell him that story.
Rex Cobble went and got his $50,000 and took it to the plane.
Yeah.
Wow!
But that was, I don't think in those days, I think that was
That was
just
normal.
another story of many.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the stories he told are unbelievable things they used to do.
Yeah.
But we still take cash for horses. You said there was cash going on. That's okay at Matheson Ranger horses. We take cash, credit card, PayPal, Bitcoin. I'll trade in your old truck if you want.
Do you charge a percentage on the PayPal?
No,
okay.
whatever.
So,
Wow!
in the book I read about Rex and Cobble Ranch and all of that, it was crazy, all the stuff going on. But it portrayed him as being an innocent bystander.
Yeah, he wasn't.
Everything. No, all the guys that are around, I have asked, I won't name names, but a couple of the players that they're kind of retired now, but they were players then, they all said, yeah, he wasn't an innocent bystander. He knew what was going on. So I don't know anything. I could be making that shit up.
There's a disclaimer across the bottom right now.
Yeah.
But Todd is right. To hear Tommy's stories about Benny Binion and
Unbelievable.
all of them guys,
Yeah.
they were awesome to hear. They were really a treat. We're gonna miss that guy telling those stories.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, those were crazy times. And I got down here in '88, which was kind of right at the end of. I missed all the good stuff, and that I love that stuff.
Yeah.
I'm a gangster without having any ability to be a gangster. I'm just like I like to.
I mean, except we take cash for horses.
That's right.
Credit card, cash,
Yeah.
PayPal.
I love those stories. I mean, I through somebody else's eyes, those stories that always, to hear some of the stuff that Doug told me and some of the stuff that went on over at
Edgewood.
St. John on Edgewood, and oh my gosh, it would have been a great time. And I was telling Kay the other day, so when I first moved down here, the Four Horsemen
It was the
a
place to
happening
be.
place.
Oh yeah, it
I
was the
mean,
place to be.
Yeah, I mean, I came down here and I was wet behind the ears. I mean, I didn't know anybody, but all the young assistants went there.
Yeah.
I mean, that was
The bar at night was the place to be, and
Yeah.
everybody. Then you might see Dave Page or Tommy Manning or Doug Lilly or
Yeah.
whatever sitting there, and then the assistant sitting over. I mean, there's no telling who would be there.
Yeah, for sure. And those days are gone. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
even know. Maybe it's because we're old. I'm not sure. But I don't think there are any bars like that
No.
anymore.
Uh-uh.
I mean, and the Four Horsemen had all the horse memorabilia
Memorabilia.
and stuff. I mean, it was a bar of the horse people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can remember that, but I didn't come down very often because it's funny, I lived in Gainesville, and man, all the way down there.
It was a drive.
Yeah,
it was a
I
drive.
don't know why
Yeah, it
anymore.
was.
It's not a drive, but
Yeah.
then it was like, I mean, we drive further than that to go golfing twice a week now.
Yeah.
But then it was like, oh man, I can't go all the way down there.
Yeah.
Which I didn't, and I was an outsider, I moved down here from Wisconsin and didn't know any of that group. So, it was
There was a wild bunch
different.
back
But
then.
yeah, I heard a lot of stories and I came in kind of after all of that stuff.
The first week I was down in Texas, they had a party at Del Varney's place, at his house that he still lives in today, and I think Leonard Davis or something invited me to come with him, and I went over to that party, and there was people running off the roof of the house, jumping in the swimming pool, and just drunk and crazy. And I'm like, I don't know if I can survive down here. This is wilder than I've ever been around.
another Midwestern boy.
Yeah. I mean, they didn't do this stuff in Indiana.
Yeah, for sure. No, that was good times. So, I mean, I heard. To be clear, I just
Yeah,
heard.
because he's talking about 1983. You didn't move down till '88.
Yeah, I think you're a couple years older than me.
Yeah. I just turned 56 a week or so ago.
A week ago.
Last Sunday.
What did I get you for your birthday?
You didn't give me nothing.
Did I even call you?
Grief.
Did
Just
you say-
lots of
did-
grief.
Say happy birthday on
Did I
Facebook
even
or
call
anything?
you?
You did not.
Yeah, I even texted him, dude.
Dude,
Yeah.
Wow.
I said,
like
I don't know
such
if
a
I said happy birthday. Did somebody
Yeah, I
post
think
it?
you did.
Yeah, I probably did.
Yeah, I didn't do that.
I don't.
Gunny
I
didn't.
don't. I
I feel like
I'm used to it.
About,
I'm used to it.
I'm not good about saying I'll see somebody's birthday on Facebook, and I'll scroll right by it, and it doesn't register until I'm like 15 or 18 posts later. I'm gonna go, oh shit, that was somebody's birthday,
And then you
I
can't
go
find it
back,
again.
Can't
it
find it.
refreshes, and then I can't find so much again.
Thank God for Facebook, because I never know when everybodydy's birthday is.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
you can just push the button on
See
there.
who's
and-
coming up.
That saved my anniversary.
Yeah. Yes.
I woke up in the
Yeah.
morning. Yes,
Yeah.
it's my anniversary.
Yeah. No, that is
Yeah.
pretty handy.
I don't love Facebook. There's a lot of shit about Facebook
Yeah.
I hate.
Yeah.
Most of it, but the good
The
stuff
birthday
like that.
deal.
Birthday and the
Birthday-
anniversary.
Yeah.
Yeah, that helps. It
Yeah.
definitely helps.
No, Facebook. Before Facebook, I never knew how many geniuses I knew.
Yeah.
There's so many smart
yeah.
people that I knew,
Oh.
and I never really, I didn't know them that way.
Yeah.
I kind of knew them, but I never knew they were that
That's smart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were talking the other day, so somebody post. Oh, what were they? Oh, they were talking about the. And let's not get political, but let's just say it was not political really, but they were talking about the vaccine and all these reasons you can't take it. And I don't have an opinion. Clear. I don't have an opinion one way or the other. I'm right down the middle. So they're talking about this vaccine and
I
why
have
you
an
shouldn't
opinion.
take it and how you shouldn't take it and all these things. And then I go to her profile page, and she's a nail technician. She's a nail.
Nothing against
So
nail
she should
technicians.
know.
Yeah,
She should
I
know.
know about
my point.
vaccination.
She did spend a night in a Holiday Inn Express.
Yeah.
That's
She was
right.
a nail technician, and she knew everything about the vaccine.
Vaccine.
And I'm not like, again, I'm not saying one way or another about the vaccine, but
Right.
maybe a biologist
Might
Yes.
know.
would
Right.
where I would go.
Yeah.
Before a nail technician.
Right.
And if you're watching this and you know who you are, nothing personal. Maybe you're the smartest nail technician
Just making an
I
observation.
ever met. So you may know more than, all those biologists.
Yeah.
That's the people
So-
that do that, right? Biologists?
Maybe just doctors,
Yeah, scientists.
Yeah.
scientists,
Yeah.
doctors.
Real
Biologists, that's
geniuses.
Yeah, well, I'd like
Not
to
horse
see,
trainers.
I'd like to see them do a set of nails.
good.
They think they're all smart. Let them sit down and do a set of nails. My God. I just went way too far on the nail.
Yeah. So,
The poor nail lady.
so Todd.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were
Todd
interviewing Todd.
Summers.
Yeah. So anyway, back to
Tom,
Todd.
back to-
Summers. Now, Tom, get off your soapbox.
Well,
Yeah, pissing off people here.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you worked for Jody, and Jody was big into I remember Jody and Gil and all that crew being, the top of the pleasure horse game. But I always thought Jody transitioned from the pleasure horses to the cutters also, but really he did cutters first,
He
right?
showed cutters first. Yeah, his dad owned feeds lots in Bentonville, Arkansas, and showed cutters. I mean, they showed cutters when they was kids.
Yeah.
And he actually won the cutting fraternity while I was working for him.
Oh, cool.
Did you get to ride that horse at all?
Yeah, I put a lot of handle and stuff on the cutters, and I started a lot of 2-year-olds on the cattle.
Yeah, what was that horse's name?
Roll Silver King,
Yep, Royal Silver King.
Yep.
That's right.
Tom-
and he could mark
Tom
like
had
he could
no
mark
idea.
a 75
I
without
sure
a cow
did.
there. He had a
Tom
lot
had
of
no
handle on him.
idea who Royal Silver King
I
was.
sure did.
Tom doesn't even know the names of his horses.
He's
that
a
he
sorrel
rides.
horse, got a little white on his face.
Yeah.
I remember the picture of him in the.
In the
I don't know
rider.
what it would have been. Probably cutting horse chatter. My
Yeah.
dad showed a lot of cutters, and we got that.
He went to his knees in the finals.
Yeah, yeah, I remember that.
And they can do that
Yeah,
and still win.
as long as the cow don't leave while they're on their knees.
Yeah. No, and so and that. I mean, I remember that. And Jody. So where was? And again, this is we're kind of getting off the thing, but I think it's interesting. So Jody, was his more when you were there? Was he more pleasure horses or more cutters?
He was transitioning more into the cutters, and the first couple years I was there, he was a lot into the pleasure and did the cutting, and then the last couple years I was there, I did a lot of the pleasure horses, and he focused it mostly on the cutters, and he still showed some, but I did a lot of the riding of them, and he'd show them, and he was getting more and more, where he didn't want to do the pleasure and just wanted to do the cutting.
So
Especially after he won the cutting fraternity.
Yeah.
So going from Tommy's, who did absolutely everything,
Everything.
halter horses, pleasure horses, like everything.
Yeah, thank God I didn't have to do the halter horses when I was there.
Yeah. But you were probably around it enough to, because I know that you are like religious about blankets on at this temperature, blanket. Did you learn that at Tommy's?
Yeah. Tommy was extremely professional about everything he did. Like probably one of the smartest businessmen there is in the horse business. And Jody was complete opposite. Jody was all about riding horses and training and didn't care nothing about the business. It was all about the techniques and training the horse.
Right. But both great horsemen.
Both great horsemen, yeah.
Yeah. Just,
And Tommy could train one really, really good, but he knew he could make more money on the phone selling horses and that kind of stuff. And he wanted to do that and make money.
I got a Tommy story. So we're playing poker at Doug Lilly's, and it's me and Tommy, Steve Heckerman, Clint Haverty, various other people, I'm sure, and I can't remember all of them, but they were all giving Tommy a little bit of grief about some maybe things that he did that maybe he should have done or whatever, and Tommy says, boys, the only thing I ever been accused of doing wrong is singing too loud in church. And I've never forgot that. One of the funniest things I ever heard. I mean, it was so, and in that group, I mean, that was a group of stone cold killers right there. Huh? I mean, it was Lily, it was Steve Heckerman, it was Tommy. I mean, those guys were
Well, they
at
weren't.
the
They
top.
didn't actually murder people. They were just really good at.
Good at training horses.
Yeah, yeah.
There's no killing going on.
I'm referring to the horse business, but those guys were at the top of the game, and it was funny hearing those guys giving each other grief because I don't know about. I mean, Steve was always, Steve and I went golfing a few times, a long time when we were both a lot younger, but hanging out with all those guys was a pretty big lesson, a really good lesson for me. What a good bunch of horsemen. And if you pay attention, you learn about a lot of things you should do. You'll learn a lot of things you shouldn't do.
Yeah.
Right?
You can learn something from everybody. If what not to do, what not to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So after Jody's, where did you go?
You worked 5 years at Jody.
Then I went out on my own. I lived out east of Mesquite in Maybank. I got married.
To Kelly.
So you crushed the whole Bill Horn dream.
Yeah. What happened there?
Well, I'd worked for so many years in the pleasure, working for somebody that I was ready to go out on my own, and I just started, went out on my own and started riding reiners and pleasure horses. I'd gotten married. Fortunately, it didn't work out. We was married about 2.5 years.
That's right.
And it
You
was
probably weren't ready to be married.
No, I don't think I was. And then was single I moved back here to Pilot Point and rented different places, and was single for a couple of years and met Kelly, and we're 29 years now married.
In my opinion, the best thing that ever happened to you.
Sure,
Yeah.
for sure,
Yeah.
for sure.
Awesome.
She keeps me out of trouble.
Yeah, she's solid.
Yeah,
She's solid and super nice.
Yep.
I enjoyed
she's
that.
earned her wings,
Yeah.
putting
Yeah.
up with me.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't think anybody.
Anybody's gonna-
Nobody
I'm looking
disagrees.
for an argument.
No.
Yeah.
No.
She has. So,
Then after I won the fraternity in 91,
1991.
I rented places for a couple more years, and then I'd saved up enough to put a down payment on a place, and couldn't afford the place once I put the down payment on it. But
you found a way.
found a way. I had a very nice customer in Italy, Enzo Gola, that I
you
was
used
second.
to, when I was working in Italy, you came over and showed.
I came
a couple
over and
times.
showed a few times over there, and did some clinics and stuff over there. But he had a horse that I was second in the fraternity on, and I borrowed the money from him to build my barn because I didn't think that far ahead. I thought, well, I got the money to buy a place, and if I keep these horses in training, I can make the payments on it. Well,
You didn't have.
I didn't have a barn. I had 4 stalls, the house and 4 stalls, and that was it. So I got to build a barn. So I borrowed the money from him, and he had 3 or 4 horses in training with me, and then he let me, instead of going to the bank and borrowing it, which I already did for my place, he let me take it off in training, and I paid him on top. I trained more than than I owed him, paid him back.
Yeah.
He made more than a bank would have made, but I was able to do it in training, which was cheaper for me.
Yeah.
And it worked great for him because he was going to pay the training on him anyway.
Yeah.
So it just all kind of fell into place, and I was able to buy my place. And
Now I remember.
Yeah.
That's where I met you.
in Italy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You came to Italy first, and you and I bickered just like we do today.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I like him. we were going back and forth, pretty good there in Italy. And
Because we were competing.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And talking shit to each other. And I was like, yeah, okay, I like you. So when we came back, then that's what happened. That's how I couldn't remember how I met you, but that's,
Yeah.
yeah, it was in Italy.
Well, and going back to the reining fraternity, I mean, we talked about riding reining horses here too. Tell us a story about your first horse that you won the fraternity on, because I think it's a pretty interesting story. I think most of the people in the world should hear it.
Well,
Because he's done his time, right?
No.
slide me to the bar.
Oh, slide me to the bar. That's right.
19.
I
That's
actually
right.
named him. His
That's right.
his name when I bought him was Mr. King Solus, and I didn't like that name, so I named him Slide Me to the Bar.
And you were thinking about the Four Horsemen. Now
Yeah.
that we talk.
Yeah.
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 So the mare that I won the limited open fraternity on was by Colonel Freckles and out of an owned Royal King.
Yeah.
And my first wife owned that owned Royal King. And she was old. She was like 24, 25 years old. They couldn't get her in foal anymore. So she sold her to a horse trader down the road in Athens, Texas, about 30 minutes from where I lived in Maybank. And he pasture bred her to his own son of Colonel Freckles and got her in foal. So after I won the limited open fraternity, I called him and said, were you able to get that mare in foal? He says, yeah, I pasture bred her and got her in foal. He said, I got a weanling, and he said, I got her back in foal. I said, well, would you be interested in selling a weanling? He said, sure. He said, sure, I would. So I went out there and looked at it, and he wanted $500 for the weanling. And I'm a little tight.
Just
You know?
a little.
And I never bought a horse on my own. Never in my life have I bought a horse till that horse. That was the first horse I ever bought, and I paid $300 cash for him.
Yeah.
And then I actually bought after I won the fraternity on him.
Wait. Before you won the fraternity, what'd you do with that horse?
Well, I got divorced when he was a 3-year-old. And of course I paid for him, so it's the only thing I got in the divorce was that horse and half my saddles and bridles and the truck and no trailer.
Let me, so I remember you and I were sitting in the parking lot of the cleaners
Yeah.
in Gainesville. And Todd was like, I got out of that thing. I don't have anything. I didn't come out of anything about my clothes, my truck, and that one horse. I said, Todd, that's more than you went into it with.
Probably
You remember
right.
that?
Yeah, probably right.
In the parking lot on
So I didn't have a horse trailer to haul the horses when I left there. So I had my customer Frank Balea, and I called him and sold the 2-year-old to him, or 3-year-old to him. I sold him for what I needed to pay for my horse trailer. I think I sold him for $10,000, and
So $300 horse.
sold for
year later,
$10,000.
Turns into $10,000.
No, I bought him as a weanling.
Oh, okay. 3
And
years,
then
4 years.
Yeah, 2 years
2
later,
years later. 3
Yeah.
years later.
I
Sold
sold
him
him for
for
$10,000.
$10,000.
I go and win the
How
fraternity.
many weeks after that was it that you won the fraternity?
It was like maybe 3 months,
3 months after that, wins $100,000 at the
Yeah.
fraternity.
and then he sells him for $100,000
Yes.
Nice.
to
you
Italy.
got to split a commission with somebody.
Nice.
So there's another
Yeah, I think Tim and what was the guy out there? Morgan from Canada. Ken Morgan.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, and they sold him to Italy,
they sold him to Italy.
and then
Tim flew over there
Yeah.
and won the Derby on him.
Yeah,
in
guess
Italy.
who was second?
You?
Thanks a lot. Again.
He beat you twice.
Yeah.
In the Derby, you were second, or the fraternity?
The Derby.
It was a Derby.
He
Yeah.
flew over and showed him the Derby.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you keep doing that.
But at least I was able to buy a horse trailer and get back in business. And
Well, and that was a launch pad.
oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, how many- How many horses did winning the fraternity, the reining fraternity, get you in training?
Not a lot. I mean, it got me more. It got me more into the reining.
Yeah.
Because that year that I had Slide Me to the Bar, I had one reiner. That's the only horse I had from his 2-year-old to 3-year-old year. I only had one reiner.
He had one reiner, and then the next year he got 3 saddles.
Actually, it was 2 saddles. It was 2 saddles. I only ever got 2 saddles, 2 show saddles from Broken Horn.
I like my story.
Yeah.
His story.
But I definitely needed 2 saddles if I was going to make the finals on 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and Frank was a customer, a big customer
Yeah.
for a long time.
Great customer for years.
And what was his wife's name?
Julie. Yep.
Julie.
Joe used to work for him.
Yeah. So you always knew at the range.
I actually introduced Frank to Julie. We were at Indiana State Fair showing pleasure horses, and Frank and I were going to go out and ride, and I went down. I said, well, I'll just meet you in the bar down there. And I was sitting at the bar, and she was sitting there, and we started talking. And then Frank came down. I introduced him, and they had got married and had
Couple of
a
kids.
couple kids. And
And are they still together?
no.
No. They got divorced when I worked.
And that's why he doesn't have horses anymore, because he got divorced and had to pay a big settlement.
Well, I know that. I remember being at the fraternity. Whenever Julie showed up and had her lipstick on all made up, Frank was going to buy the high seller.
Yep.
He bought the high seller pretty much every year.
Well, the year I bought Von Reminick, I'd saw the colt several weeks before the 30 at Scott's. Sally Broughton owned him, and I went over there and looked at him, and Scott, we ran him around the arena and around Penn, and I said, that's a phenomenal colt. I want that colt. And I called Frank and told him, I said, I got a colt picked out for the sale that I really like. Well, this was when business was doing great and everything was rolling, and during the sale at that time, he was the highest selling yearling ever to go through the fraternity sale.
He brought 80,000, so 80 or 80.
He brought 92,000.
92,000.
But I remember Frank saying halfway through the sale, somebody else was bidding against him, and every time somebody bid, he'd raise his hand again. He finally turned around to Julie and said, "Put your lipstick on. We're getting our picture taken." And he just started betting.
And so you won the fraternity on Von Reminick what year?
2,000
2000. So you would have bought that colt in 97?
as a yearling. Yep.
Yeah. Let's go back a little
98.
bit. 98, yeah.
Yep.
We kind of skipped a couple years. We skipped your Derby win.
Yeah, that was 97.
97 or
Yeah.
90?
In 95, I was second in the fraternity, and then 97.
In the Derby.
No, I was second in the fraternity on.
Yeah.
He's done his time.
I was there. That was my first fraternity.
Yeah.
I was there. You marked 226. You had a great
227 and a half.
Yeah, you had a great run.
Bergen comes in and marks a 30.
Yeah, but he marked a 231 and a half. But I mean, me being a 13-year-old kid, not knowing any better, I liked your run better. Sorry, Todd.
I did too. But I'm kind of like you, I'm kind of high on myself.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that.
No.
That's a good quality.
If you don't think well of yourself, then who's going to do it?
Man, I got the best 3-year-olds I've ever had, the best 2-year-olds I've ever had. And you know what? We take cash, credit card, PayPal, Bitcoin. When did you win the Derby?
I think 97 or 98, maybe 98. It was 98.
98?
Yeah. On Bueno Nick Chicks. I won the Congress on him that year as a 3-year-old.
97.
And then I was the highest composite. I won the first go around the fraternity by like 4 points. And then I cruised him around the second go, marked like a 16 or something. It was a high composite to go back. And he was a little, the run-in pattern was the second go then. And he got a little fresh and a little chargy. And I put a little more bid on him in the finals, and I shouldn't have done that. And I had a 2-point freeze up in a rollback because he hung on that bridle a little bit and I ended up 4th.
Well, what about your Derby win on him?
Then I came back the next year and won the Derby on him. He was really good.
Huh.
Tied to win.
That's-
Co-champion.
No, come on now. Come on now. Let's talk about that.
That was the runoff, right?
That was the runoff.
With Garth.
You all got the story wrong on the last
Yeah.
one. Yes. I was.
Was it?
It was wrong.
Set the record straight.
The record straight is,
And don't forget that we were there.
the record straight is, Garth came to me after we did our first go, or the finals, and said, let's just be co-champions. We'll just both go in and go zeros. I said, well, I'm trying to get a hold of my Italian customer and see what he wants to do. I said, I can't, he doesn't answer the phone. I can't get a hold of him. I said, so I don't know what he wants me to do. So I was first to go in the runoff. Well, I ran in, it was pattern 10. And that's when they first started pattern 10. And
Yep. And a lot of people-
everybody screwed up,
Yeah.
you know, because it's the only pattern in NRHA where the circles are different on each end. So I run in there, big, run, stop, big, turn around each way,
Big.
went to the right, small, slow, too large, fast, change leads. Or no, it was
Too large,
fast, small, slow,
Yeah.
change leads, and took off.
Yeah.
And I was trying to win.
Did you hear that, Garth?
Yeah. I was trying to win. I'm sorry, Garth, but he wanted to be co-champions, and I didn't know what to do because I couldn't get a hold of my customers. So I tried to win, and I went off pattern because I went in the big circle. So when I realized what I did, I just pulled up and I walked out. And as I'm walking out of the arena, up the alleyway, he's coming down. And I said, well, I zeroed. Are you going to zero too? And he said, yeah. So he loped in, stopped, turned 5 times, and walked out. And we were
You're a
co-champions.
sandbagger.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're a sandbagger.
Sounded like the same story we were talking about.
Sam said that I tried to talk Garth into being co-champions.
Oh.
You did talk him into being co-champions after you zeroed him for your own reasons. You did talk him into it.
I never told him I wouldn't. But I zeroed and I said, okay, you're going to zero too? And he said, yeah.
If you're watching this, Todd owes you a freaking saddle, a bronze, a horse trailer, a solo derby championship trophy, the buckle. What else did you win?
And a
Probably
Yeti.
some freaking boots.
Cooler.
Actually, back then,
OG right here now. That was cold. Who wouldn't do the same thing?
for sure.
You sold it.
That
It
was back
perfect.
when they only had 3 judges for the for the derby instead of 5, so they didn't throw out the high and the low.
And
And
you should have won it anyway.
Rick Weaver marked him 2 or 3 points higher than everybody else, and he tied me.
He was riding done buggers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were both Dunnets.
Yeah.
Or no,
No.
mine wasn't a Dunnet, but I mean, yeah, he was done bugging
Dunbugging.
86, yeah. And he was a nice horse. I
That's
mean,
exactly the same story we told.
Yeah.
no, that's not the way I heard it. That's not the way I heard it. That I went to him and tried to get him to be
Either-
co-champions.
either
No,
way.
I didn't do that.
Either way, you tried to show and win and made a mistake, and
Yeah.
Garth did not cut your throat for it.
Yeah, but he didn't know that I made a mistake.
Exactly.
He thought I zeroed because he didn't watch my run.
Exactly.
He's walking out. He heard me
Yeah.
zero, and I said, "You going to zero too?" And he said, "Yeah, he zeroed."
I'm telling you, it was awesome.
Yeah,
You're a killer. You're a stone cold killer, Tom.
I had no other choice.
Yeah.
No, hey, you compete until the end. Right?
Yeah,
That's right.
You
Yeah,
compete
I mean,
until the end.
I was trying to win.
Fair.
So-
It's fair. I honestly, for the record, I have no problem with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's good.
I
Good
have no
stuff.
problem with it.
So then after that, you get Von Ramenick, and of course you win the fraternity on him. And he was a cool horse, though, huh?
He was really cool. So I had another horse that year that I popped out a lead on, or I might have won on it.
Which horse? What was his name?
Because he was a remnant.
He was a Reminick. My role, what was his name? Because Von Zimmerman, Frank owned both of them.
It was something like that.
Is something Remedy. He's a Remedy or something. I sold him to Von Zimmerman. Frank owned both of them.
Real memorable horse.
He was a really
was
nice
pretty
horse.
cool.
He was a
Yeah,
good horse.
yeah. I actually,
He was so
Actually-
good, I forgot his name.
Todd
actually,
ain't no kid anymore. You start forgetting shit when you
Yeah.
say it.
that's
He
the
was
first
so
sign of
good
old
that I
age.
don't know his name.
I knew his barn name. His barn name was Remy.
Yeah.
But he was a really cool horse, and I slipped out of lead in the finals. I think twice I slipped out of lead, and I ended up 4th on him. But Joe Carter was one of the judges, and where his chair was sitting, he didn't see him slip out of lead. He had me winning it on the other horse. And Frank, when I came out, because I was last on the Remedy horse, I was the last horse to go in the finals, so I was going to win no matter what when I rode in there on him. And when I came out, Frank's like, "You was trying to beat him." I said, "Well, you're darn right. I was trying to beat him. I wanted to be 1st and 2nd.
Was there
It would-
5 judges or 3 judges? Then?
There was 5 judges there. Yeah.
But I think Vaughn had bought the horse, but then Frank didn't cash the check at that time.
Oh, I don't know about
I think
that.
that he was waiting to see what happened at the finals.
Oh, I don't know.
And then he said he was going to cash that check
Yeah.
or something.
But then we sold him after the fraternity, the Remy horse to Pete Kyle's customer, and Pete won a bunch of stuff on him. One's freestyle rannings on him, and one stuff. He was a nice horse.
Yeah, he was cool.
You know, one thing I've always admired about your deal is you don't go through 20 horses.
No.
You go out and pick 3 or 4, and that's what you show up with at the futurity. And, you know, I mean, obviously some years it works better than others,
For
but
sure.
when you look at the whole thing, you won a lot and produced a lot of really nice horses on a small amount of horses that you started with. So, do you think you're better at making horses or better at picking horses, or a combination of the two?
Probably a combination. I mean, you have to be both. You have to be a good trainer, and you have to be able
You're
to pick
pretty
good
good
horses.
at picking horses, Todd. Whenever you say you want to buy, it's usually a pretty good one.
You
I got
don't
it.
miss much.
I like a good one,
Yeah.
and pretty.
Yeah.
You know, but
Yeah, both
I
those
never.
horses were pretty
Yeah.
at that time.
I never wanted to have 50, 60 head of horses in training and have 5, 6 guys working for me.
Me neither.
So how'd you get there?
I don't know.
But I never wanted that. I always wanted to be where pretty much I was riding everything, and have, you know, just have enough that maybe one help ride a little bit. But I like doing everything myself.
Well, do you think
I like having the quality,
Do
not
you
the
think
quantity.
that plays into? I mean, obviously, you're picking good horses because you can't make the old saying, "You can't make chicken salad out of chicken shit," right?
For sure.
You're picking good horses, but do you think it makes a difference when you're riding them yourself as a 2-year-old
I think it
and
does.
riding them as a 3-year-old, and you're not, you're not trying to get through 20 head a day.
I don't have to fix problems
Right.
that somebody else created. You know, if I got a problem there, I know I created it, and I know where to go back to
Right.
the foundation to kind of fix it. So I think it helped. For me, it's always helped.
Yeah.
You know, to be able to ride them from the beginning to the end, and I knew the horse better, and it just worked better for me. I mean, a lot of other people are phenomenal showmen. Maybe I'm not that great a showman, but I got along well because I knew the horse so well, and I did all the work on it, and it fit me.
I feel like, Dwayne says the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, he gets his horses.
He
super
spends a lot of
broken.
time on
Yeah,
them, and
yeah.
he knows what he's got.
Yeah.
And there's other guys that are, I mean, they're great showmen. I envy them. I wish I could show one that good. But I cannot get on.
Sorry.
I cannot get on one and just go show it that I haven't trained. I mean, in the raining. In the pleasure, I could do it all day long.
Yeah.
You know, because there's places in that pen where you can kind of cheat your way around there and get around. In the raining, everybody's watching you. There's no place you can hide.
When you go pick out a prospect, does it have to be bred a certain way?
No, I don't pay a lot of attention to breeding. To me, a good horse is a good horse no matter how it's bred.
Right.
I look at the conformation, and everybody looks at the breeding, you know. But I take, for example, like when I used to rent stalls at Babcock's, they were breeding 250 mares a year to Smart Chickalina. Well, every year there was 4 or 5 really, really phenomenal Smart Chickalinas, and then there was 200 and something that
Right.
you wouldn't give $500 for.
Right.
So I mean, it didn't. I guess from seeing that kind of stuff, the breeding really didn't mean that much to me.
Makes sense.
It was about how good an individual that horse was.
And do you have, like, when you're looking at that horse, do you have a mental checklist, or you look at him and go, yeah, I like that one?
I just kind of whether it all flows together and looks the part, you know, and everything goes together. I like a certain look on a horse, and I've always liked a certain look on a horse. And a lot of the pleasure horses I showed, I wanted to look like the reiners. I mean, I wanted them to be pretty, long necked, and look the part, you know.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think, I think that's a big credit to the number of really good horses that you've turned out with the small amount that you've started with. And there's not a lot of guys that can say that, I mean,
I've talked to different people about it, like Craig Smersel. He's told me he cannot he's got to go through the numbers. He's got to have lots and lots of horses and ride them and see which ones fit him. And when he finds one that fits him, they fit him phenomenal. I mean, he
Right.
wins a lot.
Right.
But, I just kind of had to fit each horse, try to make myself fit each horse.
Right. And one of the things to me that defines what a good, really good horse trainer is they have a program that you can see. You can spot it from your horses all look the same. I mean, you train them, the finished product all looks the same.
Yeah.
And that's something that I think says a lot about what kind of a horse trainer you are. I mean, your style is consistent, you know?
Which hopefully is changing over the years. Because when you quit changing,
100%.
what we were winning on 20 years ago, we can't win on now.
If you don't, I've always said, if you don't improve 5% a year, you're falling behind.
Yeah.
I mean, and I just, you improve something and you improve something and you improve something, and then you go to the horse show and you're like, well, son of a bitch, everybody else improved it too.
Yeah.
They improved,
Yeah.
they improved
Wait a
7%.
Yeah.
And you're stuck at
Yeah.
5.
The training improves every year, but the horse caliber just
Yes, it's
is
crazy.
unbelievable. I mean, we used to go, Tom would be down there with me. We used to go to the cutting fraternity every year and look for rejects, to try to make reiners out of that weren't Cali, but they wanted to stop.
And you could do it and be very successful at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Now
now
you
you
can't
can't
do
do that. I mean, it's so tough, to find that great individual. And there's 50 guys. It used to be there was maybe 10 guys that could win the fraternity. Now there's 50 or 100 guys that can win the fraternity. It's just if they get the best horse or not.
There's a complaint that you hear now,
With the full
fairly
nomination
often
stuff.
about the full nomination stuff. And I've made the open finals of the fraternity on probably 5 or 6 different horses that I bought at the cutting fraternity. But that was then.
Yeah.
It's
This
not
is now.
happening now.
No.
It's a different. I'm not saying that there isn't one
That could be phenomenal.
that could
Yeah.
be phenomenal. It could happen.
Yeah, last year I go and watch the Snafflebit fraternity finals, and there was 1 or 2 horses in there that I thought would have made big time reiners.
Yeah.
But you go look at the cutters now, and they've evolved so much, and gotten so tough, and gotten so much horsepower towards being so cowy and so.
Well, those horses are bred to think without the guy sitting on top of them.
And we want our horses
want
to
our
think
horses
only
dumb.
about us.
Yeah, we want our horses waiting for us to tell them what to do.
And I tried a couple cutters a few years ago, and things got to happening too fast.
Yeah.
It goes back to what Winston told us when he was on. They want theirs to think every step,
and not think
we don't
about
want
us.
ours to think at all.
Yeah, we want ours to only do what we tell them
Yeah.
to do, and they want theirs to completely think about that cow.
Yeah, 100%. Which is, I think, one of the reasons why there's such a great market for the reining horses right now that are, either not stars or at the end of their career. Because as riding horses, as horses that people can just go take to their ranch somewhere and use every day, they're just
A good product.
Yeah.
easy to ride.
That's why a lot of our, they're a nice little reiner, but they're not superstars. With the ranch riding and all that stuff that started now, they go on and make great horses for them because they're easy to train, they're good minded, and they just want to get along.
Yeah, 100%.
Where it used to be when you and I started, we didn't have horses that wanted to get along.
No, you had to be so careful.
Oh yeah,
because what you did today could set you back for a month.
oh yeah.
Yes.
And now,
They're so forgiving now.
yeah, I don't want to sound like that, one of those old guys. Well, my God, when I
Back in the day.
back in the day.
We used to walk up
Well, take Slide Me the Bar. I knew when I went to the fraternity, he wasn't the most talented horse there, but he was great minded and wanted to get along.
Yeah.
And he wanted to show. He wanted to be a show horse.
And that has not changed.
That has not changed one bit.
Not one bit.
We got lots of really talented horses that don't want to be show horses, and we got some not very talented that really want to show.
And I will take the second.
You betcha.
Every day of the week, I will take one that can do a little bit less, but wants to walk in there and help you
Yep.
Because you're going to win more. You may not win first place.
Yeah.
I mean, it may take that one that's tougher to get ready.
I'd rather be in the top 10 every time
Yeah.
than win one deal and then he never gets showed again because he's bad-minded.
Yeah.
Well, I'd rather win a fraternity one time and then not show
With
up.
a bad-minded son of a gun. I don't care. I just want to win
I would
once.
rather win a fraternity
Yeah.
one time on the worst-minded horse and say, "Yeah,
And then sell him.
see you guys on
Well,
the out."
you're not going to win it this year then because you got the best ones you've ever had.
You're right. You're right. It's okay. I'll sell them to a friend and he'll win it all.
All right. Well, I feel like there's a lot more we could have talked about. That went
Yeah,
fast.
real fast.
We're at an hour already, but
Are we giving some stuff away?
Oh,
Or are we
right.
going to
Yeah.
do that next episode?
we're giving a lot of stuff away. Todd, you want to stay with us while we give away?
Sure.
All right.
Sure.